Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'd like to take a moment to please ask everyone to look at their cell phones and make sure they're silenced at this time. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, and whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. My name is Katie Franco, and I'm a member here at Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'd like to begin this service by acknowledging that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the Sklallam and Chimicum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain their homelands. As we call in our time together, let us settle our minds and calm our hearts with the ringing of the chime. It is good to be together. I'd like to welcome Al Thompson and Pat Rodgers now, who will lead us in our call to community with hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fires. Please rise in body and spirit.
I love that song, and it reminded me of one of my favorite sentences in our Covenant of Right Relations, and that's the reminder to what is the most loving thing we can do or say right now. And I would like to invite us all together here to co-create that possibility of doing and saying the most loving things we can during our time together. And our chalice lighting words today, please join me with these words from Leonard Cohen's song Anthem. Ring the bells that still ring, forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. opening words this morning are contained within two very short sentences by feminist thinker, activist, and icon Gloria Steinem. Without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. I love that idea. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. And our responsive reading this morning is drawn from the letters of Vincent van Gogh. Please note that the last line we will all read together. And also this is slightly edited to be a little more inclusive. So don't be, just read through those brackets. Those who love much, do much, and accomplish much. Love is the best and noblest thing in the human heart.
Especially when it is tested by fire, as gold is tested by fire.
Happy are they who have loved much.
And although they may never wither and they have kept that divine spark alive.
And return to what was in the beginning and ever shall be.
If only one keeps loving faithfully what is truly worth loving.
And does not squander one's love on trivial and insignificant and meaningless things, then one will gradually obtain the light. Oops, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? Let's take that one from the top, not the real top, but the top. Let's go from the last line. We'll start with then. Then one will gradually obtain. Am I doing something wrong? You know what? I'll just read it. How's that? You can move your mouths, right? So I'm gonna take it from the last line. Reads, then one will gradually obtain more light and grow stronger. So, and that's the way we roll at Unitarian Universalist fellowships, man. If there's a mistake, we just sort of take that lemon, we squeeze it, we make lemonade. And now I'd like to invite Bo Olgren, our Director of Family Ministries, up to the pulpit.
Good morning, everyone. This morning in RE, our littlest are going to be talking about all the questions that we have on our minds. Our middle elementary grade is starting their unit on Hinduism, and our middle school group is studying for their visit to the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Seattle, which will happen on the 19th. So those of you on the aisle, if you will please rise in body or spirit, we will sing the children to their classes.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Thank you, Bo. What we'd like to do now is acknowledge and welcome those of you who are visiting us this morning. If you are online with us, you are invited to say hello in the comment section, and please tell us your name and where you're from. The chat section can be found below or on the right side of the video when it is out of full screen. If you are attending in person, please rise or raise your hand so we may welcome you. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're with us today. Today is the first Sunday of the month, so it's time for our Hope Collection. Hope stands for Helping Our People Eat. And everything you donate today will go to our local food pantries. If you'd like to donate to this worthy cause, you have a few options. The ushers will come among you now if you receive the offering for those of you in person. For those viewing online, Text the amount you'd like to give to the number now showing on the bottom of your screen. Go to our website, quuuf.org, and click on the giving link, or simply mail a check to QUUF. Just remember to put HOPE in the memo line. We will now gratefully receive your offerings as we listen to Mickey Hart and the legendary drummers of Playing for Change's Planet Drum, playing King Clave.
Reminded of the first, I wound up one time in my early 20s on the University of Berkeley campus, and there was a drum circle near a fountain, and it was the first time I had ever seen a drum circle. And oh man, it was like moth to light at that one. So thank you, Planet Drum. Hard not to move with that what's going on. We have a couple of announcements. Both of them are going to be given by members of the congregation. First up, I would like to invite a representative from the Conversation Circle forward.
Good morning. I'm Beth Pope. I'm a member of the Healthy Community Team. It's great to see you all today. We're hosting an hour-long conversation circle after the service, starting, about 15 minutes after we get done, so maybe 11:15 if we get out at 11. We'll let you all have a chance to get a cup of tea or coffee, say hi to your friends, and then one of us, Martha or I, will go through and jingle a little bell to let you know that we're getting started. We'll be meeting in a circle right down in this area. A couple of questions will be used as prompts. One will be gleaned from Joseph's sermon today, and the other will be taken from some of the data that we collected during last summer's cottage meetings. That's what they were, cottage meetings. Anyway, please join us, and engage in conversations. This is part of how we're recreating community here at QUUF. And also, we are searching for some new members for the Healthy Community team. If you're interested in promoting healthy communication and fellowship across our community, please see the Friday update. We'd love to chat with you. And I'm going to add one thing. I want to express deepest appreciation for all of you who are working to create community. It certainly isn't all coming from the Healthy Community team. And I want to celebrate everything, all the good things that are happening here at QUF. So, thank you.
Our second announcement is it's a thought exercise. Please hook your index finger into a loop of an imaginary coffee cup or teacup. And now take a sip of that imaginary tea or coffee. That is as close as you're going to get today to tea and coffee in the fellowship hall. Because Julia, unfortunately, is called in and she's not feeling well. So we're going to have to make do as best we can. And now I'd like to invite Larry Morell up for a special announcement.
Didn't realize it was going to be Improv Sunday, but thank you. Good morning. I am Larry Morell, a member of your Board of Trustees. Good to see you all this morning. We have two announcements, some good news and some more good news. So first, I want you to save the date, 2 days and 1 month from today. That's March the 7th. We'll be holding a meeting here where the board will be talking about what's going on here. Leading up to that, the board will be producing Monday board reports describing what's happening. One of the feedback items we got from the Wisdom Council is communication. You don't know what's going on. So we're going to tell you what's going on. The board report will report progress for the last few months. We've only been open 5 months since the pandemic. And it seems like a lot longer because there's so much going on. So the board will give you an update. There's been all this tremendous progress. It's as though we're so busy doing stuff, we haven't paused, take a breath, look back to see where we came from, and look forward to see where we're going. So we'll take that pause. So on March the 7th, the board will do a live presentation between 6 and 8. You will also be able to participate, ask questions, and help us create our future here. So watch the board reports and hold that date, March the 7th. The second announcement, also another happy one. Thanks to the very generous gift to the fellowship from the estate of Karen Page, we were able to exceed our monumental fundraising goal for this year of $50,000. Yeah, give it up. The auction included many of Karen Page's artworks, and the sale last week was a huge success and brought in an additional amount over $15,000. So the board would like to thank the many volunteers and the staff that made both of these events so successful. Everyone involved, I think, would agree that this success was an effort of the team, but there was one individual who stands out from her leadership, her incredible attention to detail, and her tireless caring for this fellowship. And looking around, Deb Carroll, would you come up here, please? Oh, who, me? Deb Carroll was the leader of all these, this most successful effort. So let's give it up for Deb. Yes, give it up for Deb. Thank you very much. Told you it was good news.
And also, speaking of the Karen Page estate sale, if you'll note, there are several people here this morning wearing Karen Page clothing, which is wonderful. Do you want to join me up here? So what we're going to now do is share our joys and sorrows, recognizing that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of our larger community. And thus we're going to place this first stone, thinking in particular of the continued grief that we as a country feel as we navigate the issues of justice within our policing systems. We join with the families and loved ones who have experienced unfair, inappropriate, violent, and lethal policing, and we support efforts to both modernize training methods and implement more humane ways to keep our communities safe. And now within our congregation today is Dick Williams's birthday. Happy birthday, Dick. We are going to light a candle in honor of those years. And may you have many healthy ones before you. And Mary Tucker asks that you please keep her daughter Sue and her husband Lee in your thoughts and prayers in their sorrow for the sudden loss of one of their horses, Gunner. Gunner was part of their family for 27 years, was buried out in the pasture in the spot where he took a daily nap. Gunner was well loved, had a good life, and will be sorely missed. And now we place a final stone, holding in our hearts the joys and sorrows that I've just shared, while also thinking of such joys and sorrows among us that are unexpressed, but of no less importance. And I invite you into a moment of silent meditation. Service is one of my favorite moments of the service, and during this one we were blessed with sounds of a child. That sort of reminds me of that John Cage composition called 421, I think, where the pianist is poised in front of the piano keys and doesn't do anything, doesn't play the piano, but the point is that you hear everything around you. Gorgeous. Thank you, little baby. This morning's reading is the concluding section of a long poem by a brilliant poet named Tracy K. Smith. The poem is called My God, It's Full of Stars. And you're welcome to read that in multiple ways. My God, it's full of stars, or my God, it's full of stars. A couple notes before we read. Smith's father worked on the Hubble telescope, and in this particular portion of the poem, pay attention to the interplay between the scientist and his poet daughter, between powerful visionary tools that aren't working quite right, of passion, of politics, of postcards, of balloons being released to float off into the sky. Several names appear in the poem. and here's notes on two of them. Larry Niven is a science fiction writer, and for those of you who aren't of the Hollywood era, Rock Hudson, famous Hollywood movie actor, heartthrob, who died of AIDS-related complications. And this is section 5, the concluding section of a long poem entitled My God, It's Full of Stars, by Tracy K. Smith. When my father worked on the Hubble telescope, he said they operated like surgeons, scrubbed and sheathed in papery green, the room a clean, cold, a bright white. He'd read Larry Niven at home and drink scotch on the rocks, his eyes exhausted and pink. These were the Reagan years when we lived with our finger on the button and struggled to view our enemies as children. My father spent whole seasons bowing before the oracle eye, hungry for what it would find. His face lit up when anyone asked, and his arms would rise as if he were weightless, perfectly at ease in the never-ending night of space. On the ground, we tied postcards to balloons for peace. Princess Charles married Lady Di. Rock Hudson died. We learned new words for things. The decade changed. The first few pictures came back blurred, and I felt ashamed for all the cheerful engineers, my father and his tribe. The second time, the optics jibed. We saw to the edge of all there is. So brutal and alive, it seemed to comprehend us back. Our special music today is Carol of Service by Stuart Wilson, performed by the Vaccinated Voices Choir, conducted by Pat Rodgers. Fantastic. So I hope that you like the title of today's sermon, entitled SWOTing Our Religion. I hope when you first read the title that you felt a deep sense of intrigue and of wonderment, and that your holy curiosity was piqued. Though I'm concerned that the title actually brought forward a mental image of those annoying insects, perhaps one of those incessant trios of yellow jackets really bothering the garden party. And so while the main word sounds like SWOT, it is pronounced like SWOT. It's actually spelled with an O, S-W-O-T, an acronym which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, all plural. Now, for those of you who are here this morning who have ever participated in a strategic planning exercise for yourself or organizations that you run or help run or belong to, you may have bumped into SWOT at one point or another. For those of you who are new to the tool, I'd like to provide a brief executive summary. SWOT is an assessment exercise that allows a person or a group to place themselves at a remove and try to recognize and articulate the forces and the energies, both internal and external, that allow you and or your organization, what those forces are that you're contending with. The SW, the strengths, weaknesses, are internal to the organization, and the opportunities and threats are external to the organization. And for those of you who are here who feel that the word contending is a bit competitive or leans negative, you are welcome to substitute the phrase dancing with or playing with, etc. The point is to think about yourself or your organization in relation to forces in the universe and how to best dance or play or contend with those forces to achieve your strategic vision, to actualize your mission, and to move and meet, if all goes well, your objectives and your goals. Yes. For those of you listening at home, a baby just made a beautiful sound, so totally agreeing with SWOT analysis. I have a personal experience with SWOT, and I find the exercise incredibly useful and clarifying, and it can be executed with tools as simple as a piece of scrap paper and a pencil stub. Simply draw a big square on a blank side of a piece of paper, and then divide that square into 4 other squares, label them SWOT, and voila, you're off and running. You have everything you need to begin swatting away. Now, even without the context of strategic planning, it is a healthy exercise to occasionally examine our lives using various tools. 2,000 years ago, great philosopher in the Western tradition, Socrates, one of the deepest taproots of Western culture, asserted in the dialogue called the Apology that, quote, "the unexamined life is not worth living." Now, that said, I can also see Socrates muttering another wisdom statement as he applies a favorite bumper sticker onto the back of his chariot, that bumper sticker reading, "It pays to keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out." Now, that pithy reminder comes from pithy reminder to keep fresh batteries in your baloney detector is from the deeply curious scientist Carl Sagan, who also said, quote, "Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality." So let's keep both Sagan and Socrates in mind as we continue this morning. Socrates, who in the aforementioned dialogue, the Apology, also described himself metaphorically as a gadfly, as someone who, throughout his philosophical dialoguing with citizens in Athens, he would dialogue about large concepts like love or justice. He would ask questions, trying to get at what love or justice was. And it was surprising how many people didn't know or were confused about love and justice and friendship. And while this was perhaps an annoying exercise to those who lived in Athens, it was argued that it was essential for the city. It was essential for the body politic, that dialoguing, that questioning. And then Socrates in the dialogue likened Athens to a, quote, great and noble horse that was somewhat sluggish because of its size, and it needed to be stirred up. And you're welcome to interpret the phrase stirred up as bitten in the behind. Now, the use of gadfly here, it's an intentional callback to our earlier description of annoying mosquitoes and annoying yellow jackets. Those pests, essentially, that bother us. And speaking of organisms that are pests, that are considered bothersome, with emphasis there on we consider, a quick sidebar. To start our SWOT analysis of Unitarian Universalism, one of the S's for me is the assurance I find in the 6 sources, and specifically the, quote, humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and the spirit. Now, I've always paid special attention to the phrase idolatries of the mind and the spirit, and I find it interesting that the authors of the UU Principles and Sources thought it was important to warn Unitarians and Universalists, those who practice this religion, to be aware of idolatries of the mind and the spirit. Now, with that humanist source in mind, I heard a story on NPR recently that shined a light on my own ignorance and my own deep prejudice regarding a certain kind of pest, and that's parasites. Now, stay with me here. I will admit that whenever I hear the word parasites, I sort of give an involuntary shudder. The very thought of a creature living off my human body, common human parasites such as tapeworms, pinworms, flatworm, blood flukes, scabies, or giardia, it just gives me the willies, you know? And now a quick sidebar within the sidebar. Because this presentation this morning, this service, is in a place called Sanctuary, a place where we're all co-creating now with good intentions and a lot of love in our hearts within a religion that is doing the difficult and frequently unsettling work of examining its white supremacist past and present while imagining and dreaming and planning toward an anti-racist future. I want to be open and I want to be welcoming with my language, which means that I bring a heightened awareness to the words that I verbalize within a place called Sanctuary. As such, when I was writing this morning's presentation and I came to that phrase, gives me the willies, I thought, I wonder if that phrase, gives me the willies, has any unsettling origins or any racist undertones. So I did some research, and we can all rest assured that gives me the willies does not carry any unintentional freight, and to my great relief, neither does heebie-jeebies. Now back to the original sidebar. Now, starring in this NPR story about parasites was a University of Washington biology professor who just waxed rhapsodically about a type of tapeworm that exists within a shark's intestines. And she just swooned over the evolutionary genius that allows this parasite to exist within a very specific environment of a slippery shark's intestine. The tapeworm had all the necessary equipment to live and to thrive. And regarding nature's design of this tapeworm, this enthusiastic woman of science said, and I quote, "Beautiful and clever. What more could you want?" To which the interviewer replied, "Okay, I'm sold on the way that you describe that tapeworm, But I'm just wondering, what is that visceral feeling in me when I cringe and I kind of squirm when you're talking about it? Why do I have such a closed mind about this? Now, our buoyant pro-parasite professor said, quote, "The funny thing about parasites is that most people don't encounter them until they're a problem." And then, after a short description of her favorite parasite, poetically called the pygmy hog-sucking louse, the interviewer asked the question that I have never ever heard articulated in human language. Quote, "How do you get more people to care about parasites?" It's a gorgeous sentence. It goes right to the heart of our seventh principle, the interdependent web of all existence, of which we and the pygmy hog-sucking louse are a part. How do you get more people to care about parasites? And the scientist's answer was simple, was elegant, it was true, and it sings out to Sagan, to Socrates, to SWOT, to the examined life. Here's what she said, and I quote, "You can't care about what you don't know." So an enthralling radio story about parasites gifted us the simple and profound double negative truth: you can't care about what you don't know, which means, in essence, the more that you know, the more you can care. Now, I encourage everyone here this morning to listen to that story about parasites. So if you own a computer or a smartphone and can access the internet, go to your favorite search engine, type in KUOW and parasites, and you will arrive at a story called "Parasites Have a Bad Rap, but Play an Important Role in the Animal Kingdom." And so the S in our SWOT means strength, and the S in this exercise led us to a mind-altering modern parable about parasites and the wisdom statement: you can't care about what you don't know. Now, second sidebar within the sidebar. Did you note that I prefaced that invitation to listen to that story with the phrase, if you own a computer or a smartphone and can access the internet? Now, it's a small item, but it was another attempt, another intentional attempt to be more inclusive and more welcoming of everyone. In this case, folks who might not have the financial resources to purchase a computer or a phone or internet. And even though my intent was pointed in the right direction, ultimately my invitation rings hollow. My invitation might even be harmful, because in reality, I have actually excluded those folks in a place called sanctuary because they don't own the costly tools that I currently, emphasis on currently, take for granted. Now, I've offered no solutions, such as borrowing my phone or my laptop or hosting a listening party after the service. But now, sidebar within the sidebar within the sidebar, we crack into the phrase listening party. After the service, a disabilities activist might remind me that any solution called a listening party excludes people who cannot hear. Now note that our imaginary disabilities activists use a person-first language in the description, people who cannot hear, rather than identity-first language, deaf people. All this to say, the active practice of inclusion, the intentional act of being ever more welcoming to all, to everybody, and the dynamics of word choice and class awareness is a continuous practice of confronting our own deficits and blind spots, and perhaps even our own patience. Now, in the perfect world, my religion, the religion that I practice, that you practice, should inspire me to be open and loving and welcoming to everyone, always. And that religion should help me support my efforts to do so. Now, as lofty as that sounds, tracking my own behavior, both conscious and unconscious, over time indicates a success rate less than 100%. In making a well-intentioned and enthusiastic invitation to listen to a very interesting story about parasites, I may have inadvertently excluded those who lack financial resources and those who can't hear. Now, I can take this in many, many ways, from a personal moral failing to a call to become ever more conscious, ever more aware, ever more awake, and ever more welcoming. And similarly, I have to admit that it's going to be verbalized here for the very first time that I recently helped organize a meal for a number of people with a constellation of dietary restrictions and sensitivities and guidances and just like political factions. Now, attending this meal was an omnivore, very mellow, a devout vegan, very militant, someone with a severe peanut allergy, and a person who is avoiding carbs. Now, let's just say that my menu planning started with sparkling water and thin lemon slices. And here I recall and share the enlightening impossibility of the Bodhisattva's vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it. Now, with the profundity of the Bodhisattva vows settling into our hearts, we find our way out of the sidebars. Thank you for your patience as we went down that path. And we continue our SWOT. And to keep the examination internal, we turn to W, or weakness. Now, in my experience with Unitarian Universalism, the weakness that I feel most acutely is the lack of ritual or rituals that aid me in experiencing mystery and wonder. When I talked earlier about the drum circle that was prompted by the drum video, and thank you very much, musicians, for bringing forward some phenomenal music today. When I saw that drum circle, heard that drum circle, I was drawn into mystery and wonder. I was truly moved in my body. And to be sure, this SWOT exercise that I'm doing right now, it's incredibly personal. It is mine, and it is also introductory. And I'm speaking for myself, and I can imagine people here this morning thinking something like, I've got some W's for you. And you're absolutely welcome, and you're absolutely encouraged to perform your own SWOT of Unitarian Universalism as you see fit. And again, quoting from our 6 sources, the very first source of the 6 sources reads, and I quote, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Now, those first 2 words are key for me. Direct experience. What is the practice of this religion, specifically during Sunday services, offer to help people have a direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder? I encourage you to think about that, and I'd really appreciate hearing some email or getting some email responses of what you feel this religion does to help you feel direct experience. Now, the closest I came was a couple of years ago when I helped co-create a salt communion at several UU congregations throughout the region. On those Sundays, I presented a sermon about the power of salt. Salt as a metaphor, salt as a food, salt as a taste, the effervescence of savoring, right? Of tasting, of being there when you taste the salt. And then we all partook of a salt communion that featured salts, 3 different salts, one from very high on the globe, the Himalayas, one sea level, salt from a desert, and one very, very, very deep sea salt that my wife won or received at a benefit auction. And one of the most powerful and most beautiful vials of salt I've ever owned is salt from the deep, deep, deep sea. And we gave voice to Neruda's poem, Ode to Salt. We focused our attention on our tongues, our taste, and we tasted salt. Folks were beaming, because we moved out of the normal and we allowed something as simple and mundane as tasting salt transport us to a deeper realm. Now, people reported back to me that they were incredibly moved. They wanted to do it again. Now, on the flip side of this discussion of weakness, over the years of giving sermons in a wide range of congregations, I have been called out and I have been criticized many times by congregants for my liberal use of quote-unquote religious terms. Words like holy, words like worship, soul, prayer. Sometimes the message is front forward, as when one person insisted that they be called a service assistant rather than a worship assistant because they don't worship. Fair enough, I thought. And she did a marvelous job making worship possible for those who chose to worship. After another service where I delivered a sermon on universalism and love, the profound love embedded within universalism, a practicing UU who is a devout atheist confronted me with heat at a coffee hour and said that the central phrase that I used in my sermon, divine love, appeared nowhere in the 7 principles, and that I should cease and desist from using the phrase. Now let that settle in for a moment. Upon reflection, my guess is that person who was, for some context, a retired engineer, took issue with the word divine, which is a word that I hold close to my heart. And truth be told, I welcomed the feedback because I could feel the divine love coursing through this atheist as he spoke about such passion and concern about that which didn't exist. Now, all this to say that I love and I need ritual. And I think that we, as a religion, would do well to start practicing some and practice it with intention and attention and having some effective rituals within our worship service. For example, this morning, the ringing of the bell, I felt moved. I was listening to the bell. I loved the way you allowed the sound to dissipate, and then you rang it again. The silence that we shared this morning, I loved listening to the silence. I loved hearing the baby. I loved being in this space called sanctuary where we're all being quiet for a little bit. And now looking externally at the O of opportunity, I see millions of people out in the world who would love to be a part of this religion and simply don't know that this religion exists. Millions upon millions of big-hearted, smart, funny, nature-loving, justice-seeking people, folks who are hungry for community, hungry for meaning. Now, I, for one, am incredibly bullish on the O, and I think that Unitarian Universalism has much to offer modern society. We are a religion that actually welcomes science, welcomes reason, and we think about things. That is a powerful, powerful tool in modern society. Although I think we need to improve our promotion and our messaging big time. Big time. And I'm also, I'm particularly heartened by our current examination and the consideration of our principles and our sources, the so-called Article 2 in our bylaws, the bylaws of this religion that guides Unitarian Universalism to essentially swat away at the core of our religion every 15 years. What a powerful and brave thing for a religion to do. Can you imagine a Protestant religion saying, okay, we're going to go swat the 10 Commandments here this afternoon? No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, every 15 years we think about the Nicene Creed. Well, I consider this a very healthy exercise that keeps or attempts to keep our religion fresh with new ideas, and also we have to be aware that the proposals that come forward in Article 2 might not pass. You know? It's happening. Might not work. And so here's a thought experiment as we all consider Article 2, and I've heard lots of chatter about Article 2. Imagine that this sanctuary right now just travels back 150 years, and that we're in a service of a Unitarian or a Universalist church 150 years ago. My guess is that we would be deeply relieved about what we're doing here today, because we don't want to be involved in what they're doing 150 years ago. Similarly, if our sanctuary bopped forward 150 years, my guess is that the worship service that we're enjoying right now will look significantly different in the future. This is called progress, which is something that a liberal religion should embrace with all its humanistic and justice-speaking fervor. And that is another sermon altogether. And finally, the T of threat. To my mind, the primary threat to our denomination is righteous polarization and a willful cultivation of what the fifth principle warns us against, idolatries of the mind and the spirit. I'm sorry to say it, but from what I can see currently at its worst, Unitarian Universalism is absolutely aping the behavior of our dysfunctional Congress. We are separating within our congregations. We are creating factions. We are creating people who are right and wrong. And we are having an increasingly difficult time talking with, listening to, and understanding each other. In congregations around the region, I hear this situation described most often as social justice versus free speech, or anti-racism versus liberal religion, with each side cleverly cherry-picking UU principle or two to defend and advance their position, thereby pitting principles against each other. The 7 principles work together. I call foul on taking 1 or 2 and making your little arguments about them. They have to work together. And when you do that, it creates a holy hot mess. To my mind, you cannot achieve an anti-racist society or an anti-racist denomination without the encouragement and inspiration and freedom to fiercely examine intricate, entrenched, and complicated systems. We have to figure out how and to openly invite a graceful and generous way to align and leverage all this power. Now, to help inspire a possible meeting of the minds and a meeting of the hearts to move forward and ask ourselves, what's the most loving thing we can do or say right now? I'm going to provide a concluding story, a little parable, easy to remember. You're welcome to take it in, to think about it, to change it as you need, as folklore does so well. I can't remember where I first heard this. I tried to find it. I tried to find a source for this, and I couldn't. So if you know what the source is, or you can point me in a direction, I would very much appreciate it. The story goes, there's this village by the sea that was preparing to select a new leader. The choice was between 2 deeply, deeply qualified and beloved people. And let's call them S, and let's call them O. Both S and O wanted to be the leader. They were born for this role. Both O and S had their supporters and their detractors in equal measure. In the days prior to the village meeting where the final selection would be conducted, the rancor between the factions grew deeper and more intense. Strife, discord among the villagers, palpable. O and S prepared and practiced their speeches. And when the day arrived to make the choice, the villagers gathered together with each side chanting and singing support for the leader that they wanted. And then, the matriarch rose. The crowd hushed. Inside this newfound quiet, the elder spoke so all could hear. We have before us two worthy people, both of whom extremely qualified to lead. The elder nodded at O and nodded at S. And we have grown within this single village two sides. Whatever final decision we make cannot be one that creates two. And then she spoke directly to S and to O. Forget the speeches that you've prepared. The elder placed her hands on their shoulders and said, "Now, S, from the heart, tell us, the village, why we should choose O. And then O, you tell us why we should choose S as our leader." S and O were stunned. Each wanted to be the leader. After a long moment, S took in a deep breath and in a strong, clear voice said, "O should be the next leader because..." And that rousing speech convinced everyone through its momentum, through its love, and through its respect, until everyone was convinced. Everyone except O. Because when it was O's time to speak, he rose, or they rose, so all could hear. S should be our next leader because... Amen. Our closing song this morning is a South African hymn, number 172. I've been told that if you speak Zulu, you are absolutely welcome to sing the Zulu lyrics. If you speak English, you are encouraged to sing the English lyrics. Number 172.
Moves at a real good clip, so try to follow along.
And please join us in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again. Next week, Kate Kinney is going to be speaking on the topic of wild church. Definitely something I want to see. Hope you can join us. And immediately after the postlude, please join us for the coffeeless coffee hour. And our postlude today is Dona Noblis Pacem. performed by the, what's that? We do have coffee? Get out! It's going to be some caffeinated conversation, let me tell you about that. We'll see you over there.